Hello and welcome to today's Pathways training for Vice Presidents of Education, presented by Carly Cox, District 31 Division B Director for the 2020 to 2021 Toastmasters year. Today's training is aimed at Club Vice Presidents of Education, along with those who support them, including their fellow Basecamp managers, the club presidents, and secretaries. The training is intended to support Vice Presidents of Education and knowing how to help their members to make the most out of the Pathways learning experience. Please note that throughout this training deck, any text that is underlined is a hyperlink that can be clicked to bring you to the resource described. In today's training, we'll start out with Pathways basics, how to describe Pathways to both new and experienced members. Next, we will talk about helping members to get started in Pathways, pointing out several resources that are available to you and to your members, how to help a member choose a path, provide a Basecamp cheat sheet that you can give to your members to make sure they know how to navigate, and a few more resources for using Basecamp. Next, talk about how to help members progress in Pathways once they've chosen that path. For you as a Basecamp manager, we'll go through the member progress reports so you can track your members' progress. We'll talk about external training requests, what they are and how members can use them. And finally, what you will need to do to both approve the levels and submit awards. Lastly, we will discuss some of the advanced member support that you need to provide as a VPE. It includes how to support your dual club members, so members that are a member of a second club in addition to yours, what the Pathways mentoring program is and how you should encourage your members to use it, some tips around second paths and when a member should get started on that second path, and the requirements for becoming a distinguished Toastmaster under the Pathways program. First thing to know is the basics of Pathways and how to communicate Pathways and its benefits to members, both new and experienced. When speaking to a new member, I find that it's helpful to talk about Pathways as the formal training part of Toastmasters. The meetings contain the other two types of training, which is learning by doing, which people get from taking on the roles and giving speeches. They also contain learning from others through the evaluations and feedback that you receive in the meetings. Learning from others also comes in through mentoring within the Toastmasters Club. But Pathways is that formal training which provides the structured program to help accelerate the members' growth. Can members grow and improve in Toastmasters without using Pathways? Yes, of course they can. However, members who embrace Pathways and really use the program to its full capability accelerate that growth and reach greater heights more quickly. In terms of explaining what Pathways actually is, it's good to point out that there are 11 unique paths that are all different from each other, but even within each path, they can be further customized to meet your goals. The 5 core competencies that Toastmasters helps to improve are public speaking, interpersonal communication, strategic leadership, management, and competence. Each path has a unique focus on 2 or more of those core competencies, and the projects within them cover more than 300 sub-competencies. While we've just been talking about some of the differences between the paths and how you can customize it, there is a lot of similarities, and that starts with really the structure of the program. No matter which path you're on, it's going to be 5 levels there's 14 projects. Level 1 is mastering the fundamentals. Level 2, learning your style. Level 3, increasing knowledge. Level 4, building skills. Level 5, demonstrating expertise. After completing each level, you can inform members that they will receive an award. That award is something that will go on their permanent Toastmasters record. They get a certificate, and starting with level 3, they can also choose to have a letter sent to their employer to recognize their achievement. One of the key benefits of Pathways that I like to encourage is the fact that it's fully available online, which means you can access it anywhere. You can access it from your work computer, you can access it from your home computer, from your tablet, from your phone. And there's no more losing a paper manual. You can just access it from wherever you are. In addition to introducing Pathways to new members, you may still have some members who've been in Toastmasters for several years and still have not moved over and transitioned to Pathways. With those members, many of the points that we discussed on the previous slide for new members still apply, but there's some unique items to add on to your arsenal of information to share with them to try to encourage them in moving into Pathways. Firstly, Pathways is now the only education program in Toastmasters. There is an exception for the Advanced Leader Silver for this year only, which is the only award that members can still be working towards. But for everyone else, if you want to earn awards, if you want to be able to access new training materials, Pathways is your only option. Not only that, but members have the first free path. So if they haven't already chosen a path, it's free. They don't have anything more to do it, and that's available to them. With the new recent announcement from Toastmasters International that they're giving a second free path to all members who are renewing for the October dues cycle this year, as long as they renew before December, that's another opportunity to really encourage those members, because this one, unlike the first free path, does have an expiration date. Members have to choose that second path before the end of March 2021. Which means they also have to choose their first path because they won't get the second one until they've chosen the first. So that's another thing you can maybe use to try to encourage your members to do it. Even if they don't want to use it, at least if they choose the path, they've got that locked in and they won't lose that benefit. Now, when you're talking about the customization, I think that's something that you really need to maybe tweak your approach with a transitioning member. So you can obviously talk about the 11 paths and the ability to customize it. When you're talking about the scope of what it covers, though, you can mention some of the things that didn't exist before. So of those 300 subcompetencies, that's more than 4 times higher than the number of subcompetencies that were covered by the traditional education program. Some of the unique ones that are available now are things like managing online meetings or doing blogs, social media, some really timely skills for our current environment. With the levels, one thing you can do is try to equate them loosely with the old program. So levels 1, 2, and 3 combined are roughly equivalent to a CC and a CL, and then levels 4 and 5 are more along the lines of an advanced manual. The fact that you get an award after every level and that that CC really is the equivalent of 3 levels means that members will get awards more quickly. It only takes 4 speeches to get a level 1 as opposed to the 10 that you needed for a CC. And that can be really big for some members who are not moving as fast as maybe what the standard approach is. And that is something that can be quite common, especially I know in my own corporate club. We chartered about 2 years before Pathways came, and in those 2 years, we had 0 members earn their CCs. In fact, we didn't have anybody even close. I was the most advanced one in my club, and I only had, I think, about 5 speeches done by the time Pathways came around. Whereas starting in that first year of Pathways, we were able to get President's Distinguished and earn 5 different education awards on the DCP points. So it can be a real boon for those who are moving slower to get that recognition earlier, which helps motivate them to then want to go a little bit faster as well. Now, one of the main concerns that many members have is around the fact that it's available online and not in print anymore. There's a few different things. So one is I would like to encourage all members, even those who are not that comfortable with the technology, to try to go for that online one because there's so many improvements and benefits for having the online version versus the print version. First of all, it doesn't cost anything extra, whereas the print one costs $25 more. You have access to all 11 paths and to additional tools such as videos and interactive assessments that are available online that you can't get when you're doing the printed path. And even if you do it online, if you want the printed, if you really want that paper, you can still print your projects. You just have to go into each project online and you can print it. And that's something that is, relatively easy to do and gives you the same flexibility without having to pay that money and without having to lose out on the interactive skills. Another complaint that I've heard from many of the transitioning members is the fact that unless they were a DTM, or even I guess even if they are a DTM, they have to sort of start over with Pathways. And that is true to some extent. In terms of the award building, you don't get credit for having done a CC or done a CL or anything like that. But you can still make it work for you. You can start your path, and while you need to start with level 1 if you want to be earning the awards, because you have to earn level 1 before level 2, before level 3. But if you have a skill you want to work on, maybe you were working on that storytelling skill, or maybe you want to learn how to manage online meetings. Those are skills that are electives in levels 3, level 4, and you can complete those projects out of order. So you can jump ahead and do one of those advanced projects while you then slowly start building up, with your level 1. And many people in the old program would do CC over and over and over again, which is similar to doing, a path starting from scratch. Another thing that I have heard from some members is they feel like they're losing out on the material, and that may be coming from the fact that, say, storytelling. Storytelling is a project within Pathways. It's one of the level 3 electives, but it was a whole manual in the old program. So you think, oh, project versus manual, I'm not getting as much. And while it's true that there's only a requirement to do one speech for the storytelling project, the contents are actually going to be a similar level of depth to what was in the entire manual for the storytelling manual within the old program. So you can really get the same level of content, you're just not necessarily being required to do as many speeches, but you can certainly choose to go above and beyond those minimums if you really want to practice that skill of storytelling. Now that you've hopefully convinced your members, whether new or transitioning, on the benefits of Pathways and got them excited to get started, how do you actually help them start? That's what we'll be covering next. First, I want to point out some of the many resources that are available on Toastmasters.org to help members understand more about what Pathways is and how to use it. On the main website, there are 2 primary pages that contain information on Pathways. The first is the Pathways overview page, which contains the description of what Pathways is, a welcome video, descriptions and project lists for each path, more videos on what is Pathways and let's log into Basecamp, access to the Icebreaker project that can be accessed by anybody, not even just Toastmasters members, and a Pathways frequently asked questions page. The Navigator Pathways page has some of the same things and a few unique items. It still has a description and welcome video, but it also has a comparison of online versus print, which I discussed on the previous slide. Has descriptions and project lists for each path again, And it also describes the awards available in Pathways, so that can be something useful for those who might be motivated by those awards. Outside of the official Toastmasters pages, there's some other resources that you have. Within District 31, the Division I Director, Barry Recker, has been doing a monthly training called Starting Pathways and Completing Projects. The dates for those are listed on the District 31 calendar. They typically are on the second or third Thursday between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. and you have registration through Eventbrite. These are really good sessions for those members who just want that help either selecting a path, or maybe they've selected the path and they want to learn how to navigate through and complete their first project. Another tool that I really like to use is one that comes from District 4. They have a really nice Paths and Projects interactive guide on their website, which allows you to view project names and descriptions for all levels of all paths. So it's a really nice, easy way to go and see exactly what all the projects are for each path. So it can be really helpful for a member trying to decide what path they want to do, or even one who's already chosen the path and is looking to see, well, what's coming up in the future levels. District 17 has some more useful Pathways materials. They have a Pathways overview. They again have project names and descriptions for all levels and all paths, and they have some Pathways tutorial videos that they've created. When it comes to helping a member choose a path, there's a few steps that I like to follow. The first one, which can help, is to ask them if they want to focus on public speaking only to start off, or if they also want to include leadership. If they say they just want to focus on public speaking, at least to start, then their choices have been narrowed down to two: presentation mastery, which is just basic public speaking, or engaging humor, which, as the name suggests, adds humor into the mix there. If, on the other hand, they choose, so they want to also include some elements of leadership, then the remaining 9 paths are available to them, and it takes a little bit more to figure out which one. Reviewing the names of the other paths can help with some members. A certain name might resonate with them. Maybe they really want to work on their coaching skills and effective coaching might resonate. Or maybe they work with teams a lot and team collaboration might really ring with them. Whether it's looking at the names of the paths or reviewing the short path descriptions that are available from Toastmasters, that may be able to help narrow down, if not pick a specific path for them. If the members want to see what Toastmasters would suggest for them, there is an assessment that they can do online. And the next slide will talk about how to actually select a path, which includes the assessment. But they can use that sort of as a precursor to get some recommendations of which paths they may want to look into in more detail. Looking through whether it's 9 or 11 paths, or even just a handful of them, may seem overwhelming given that there are 14 projects in each path. But it really actually comes down to only 5 projects defining the path. As you can see on the slide here, level 1 is exactly the same for all paths. And each of the other levels have either projects that are the same across all paths, such as the Introduction to Toastmasters Mentoring in level 2 or Reflect on Your Path in level 5, or they have the same elective projects that members can choose from in levels 3, 4, and 5. So the ones that define the path are the 2 required projects from level 2, and then the 1 required project each from levels 3, 4, and 5. I have created a resource called Required Projects per Path. It is within this training document, and also the link will take you to a separate file, which you are welcome to share with any of your members. What this file has is a slide for each path showing what those 5 projects are. so that they can really focus in on them. And it also shows you whether that project is one that's unique to that path, which means that if they really want to do that project, they would have to pick that path, or whether it's one that is an elective, one of the pool of elective projects that just happens to be required in that particular path, which means they could use it to exclude a path, but not to necessarily include it. And the slides are color coded to show that uniqueness. So this is something I have shared with many people and has been proven to be helpful, especially for those who really want to know exactly what they're getting into before they pick a path. What are the projects that they're going to be required to do and that they can't avoid? Once you've gone through some of that pre-work with the member to help them narrow down their choices, now it's time to actually go and choose the path. The member does have to log in. They can use the forgot password link if they don't know their password. They go to their member profile, which is that welcome name at the top. Select to choose a path, pick their language, the delivery option, which again, I strongly encourage, select digital resources for the reasons that I mentioned previously. And then they have 3 different choices of how to do the selection. Now, Toastmasters International automatically recommends and suggests presentation mastery for new members. This is because it's sort of the basic one for public speaking skills. So if they want to do that one, they can just pick it right there and they're done. If they've already decided what path they want to take, then they can view path options and select it from there. If they still want that guidance, they can take the assessment. The assessment will ask them a bunch of questions around what skills they want to focus on, and it will then recommend the path, 3 paths that they think would be the best fit for them. Whichever method is used, once they select the path and confirm it, they'll get a message that the path has been selected. Now, it will take some time before it appears on Basecamp. This means that they can't necessarily go straight from picking the path right into working on it. So it's something to just note for your members, and also to note if you're planning to do a Pathways workshop for members that there will be that time delay. If a member chooses a path and then they later change their mind and regret it and want to pick a different path, as long as they haven't completed any projects, they have 90 days to exchange it for another path, and they do have to do that through an email request. Now, this is something also where if you have a member that maybe chose a path in the past and then regretted it and maybe has not been moving forward in their path because they didn't choose it and they didn't want to shell out the $20 to pick a new path, the newly available free path for those renewing members could be a good way to get that member unstuck by allowing them to choose that second path, which can really become their first path and the one that they work on, without having to pay any more money. Once a member has chosen a path, they may find themselves stuck if they're unsure how to navigate Basecamp and actually start working in their path and working through their projects. The next few slides are a Basecamp cheat sheet. They give images and links and names of the most common tasks that members will be performing within Basecamp to help them be able to complete those tasks and move forward without having to ask you for questions on how to do each and every little step. All of the sub-bullets that have the little slideshow icon are ones where there is a specific tutorial video available through Basecamp when you search for the specific name as listed here. All the ones are also available as YouTube videos, and the links that are provided will take you directly to those YouTube videos. The first task that members need to do within Basecamp is to work on their paths and start working on their projects. And there are a large number of tutorials available to help a member know how to do that. from accessing your path all the way through to accessing certificates when they complete a level. All these different steps have short, quick, less than 3-minute tutorial videos available to the member. And they are all done from either the Paths and Learning main link on the top left or from the quick link Paths and Learning section that's lower down on the left-hand side of the main page. Now, I would like to call your attention specifically to the Printing a Project tutorial, because there are many members, especially those who've been in Toastmasters for a long time, who really like having that paper manual in front of them. And they can get that from Pathways, even without having to pay the extra $25 to have a printed path, which is not recommended as mentioned before. But they can do it by printing their project from within Basecamp. So it's not necessarily intuitive and obvious how to do it, but it has a quick tutorial, and once you've watched that tutorial, it is easy to go and print a project. Beyond working within the project itself, the other key items related to completing projects within Pathways has to do with evaluation forms. Now, first step is to download the evaluation forms so you can provide them to your evaluator. And there is a tutorial on accessing speech evaluation resources. The next slide, I'm going to get into several different options for how an evaluator can access the evaluation form that they need to evaluate the speaker. The other piece of the evaluation forms is once your evaluator has written your evaluation and provided it back to you, what do you do with it? How do you upload it? And the way this is done is not necessarily the most intuitive. You would think that you would upload the evaluation form to the specific project that it is for. However, there is no place to upload an evaluation form within a project. There is, however, a place to upload it within Basecamp, and that is within the My Documents folder. On that main page on the bottom right, there is an item called My Documents. When you click on the My Documents word, you will be brought to a screen that has folders for each of the 5 levels, as well as a general folder. And in each of those levels, you can upload whatever documents you want, whether that's your completed evaluation form for a particular project or any other project resources, be it a speech outline, your written speech, or one of the many different written resources that are available, especially for many of the higher level projects. As mentioned on the previous slide, there are several different options for how an evaluator can access evaluation forms. For any evaluator, whether or not they themselves have chosen a path and have access to Basecamp, they have 3 different ways that they can access the evaluation forms. The first is that the speaker can download their own evaluation form and email it to them as a PDF. This is an easy way to make sure that your evaluator has it and is done very often in many clubs. If this is not done, the evaluator can search for any evaluation resources right on the Toastmasters.org website by just searching for the project name. So if they know what the project name is for the speech, they can just search for that name. And if they're worried about perhaps finding another document that's not the evaluation resource, the specific place where these evaluation resources are held is within the resource library under the category evaluation resources. So you could go to the resource library, filter on the evaluation resources category, and then do your search if you want to make sure that you don't end up with some other document. Next, if you have evaluators who themselves have Basecamp access because they've chosen their own path, there is a place where all the speech evaluations are, which is helpfully called Speech Evaluations on the left-hand side on the main page. They can go there and find the name. It's all alphabetical by the project name. Or they can search within Basecamp for the project name, just as they could search within the Toastmasters website. If a club uses FreeToast Host for their club website and specifically uses the agenda functionality of FreeToast Host and has it set up so that when a speaker signs up, they select their path and project, then the evaluation resource will become a link that can be clicked right from the agenda. So this is a really nice, easy way to make sure that your evaluators have the evaluation form without needing to do any searching and without you needing to email it to them specifically. It'll just be right there on the agenda. The last two slides of the Basecamp cheat sheet talked about working through a path and the projects within the paths. But there are several other items done within Basecamp that go beyond the paths. First is some general help. So how to make sure that your members can access the help that they need, such as was described on the previous slides, without needing to come to you every time. With a brand new member, they may want to watch the tour video that is available right on the home page. After that, to get to task-specific tutorials, they have two options. They can search or they can browse. Now, there is a specific tutorial on searching and browsing on Basecamp, and this can be found by searching or browsing. It can also be found by clicking the link that goes to the YouTube version of it. Searching is in the top right on the page, and the tutorials and resources on the left-hand side, and kind of in the middle, is where you can browse. There are other things that can be done in Basecamp to enable interactions between your club members. First is your member profile. You can update your profile and also track meeting roles as part of your profile. Updating your Basecamp profile has its own tutorial and is done from within the image on the top right. It'll start out as a generic image. If you decide to update your profile to add a picture, it will then become your picture. This is a great way to enable your fellow club members to get to know each other. One specific element of your profile is the meeting roles. And this is really more for you as a VPE to be able to track when people have filled their meeting roles in order to make sure that they have fulfilled the requirements for level 3 of being a Toastmaster, a Table Topics Master, and a speech evaluator, as well as to see when a member has filled all of your meeting roles in case you want to give that a recognition, either through the use of an adaptable badge or some other award that your club may choose to have. Instructions for how to update your Basecamp profile, both for the general summary information as well as to add and track meeting roles, is available through the tutorials, and information about those meeting role requirements I mentioned for level 3 is in an FAQ document that is available. I mentioned use of the adaptable badge. One of the nice features of Basecamp, beyond just the use of the pathway, is the ability to send and receive feedback for fellow club members, and including the ability to award badges. There are tutorials on providing feedback and awarding badges, as well as responding to feedback requests and requesting feedback. So members can request feedback specifically from another member. They can also give feedback and award badges unsolicited. And if they do request them, they can respond to those requests. One major caveat to note is that there is no automatic notifications. Members don't get an email when they either receive feedback or receive a feedback request. So if your club chooses to use feedback and badges through Basecamp, you need to make sure that your club members are going to periodically check their feedback in order to see if they have any new feedback or if they have any requests to provide feedback to other members. So something to keep in mind is that it does need to become part of your club culture if you want to use this functionality. Now that you've helped your members to get started, I want to talk about how to help them progress. So it's one thing to have them choose a path, have them, start that first project, but how do you make sure that they're keep going and making progress? That's what we'll be covering next. Basecamp has a variety of member progress reports available to you as Basecamp manager. Basecamp managers are the Vice President of Education, Club President, and Club Secretary. And when any of the members that hold those three roles go to log into Basecamp from their Toastmasters account, they will see that there is a checkbox that they can check asking if they want to log in as Basecamp manager. In order to see the member progress reports, you check that box before you click go, and that will log you into Basecamp as the Basecamp manager instead of as yourself. The main screen as Basecamp manager will look similar to the screen shown here on the top right, and the member progress tile in the center is where you click to access the member progress reports. When you first go and view the member progress reports, you'll want to make sure that you refresh the reports because they do not automatically refresh. This is done from the top right of the specific reports page and from the options that is shown on the top right. So you click options and there'll be an option there to refresh. It does take a little while to refresh the report, so just be patient. Another thing to note is that once you have refreshed the graphs themselves will be refreshed and show you all the data, but the graphs only give you so much information. You are most likely going to want to view the details, and doing so is not obvious. For this, you have to go to the individual graph. So in the case of the example here, the level 1 projects in progress graph, you have to hover in the top right-hand corner of that graph box. And when you do that, a downwards arrow will appear. When you click that, it has a few options, one of which is view details. So that is how you view the details for an individual graph. Now you will see that there are 6 different progress reports available. I will be talking primarily about 4. Just to briefly touch on the other 2, path type shows you how many of your members have selected online paths versus in print. Hopefully you are 100% online. And then the external training I'll be touching on in a later slide. The first progress dashboard is the individual progress dashboard. All of these tracking progress dashboards, there are tutorials, however, they are outdated. So they show the way that the graphs used to be much earlier in 2020. They don't reflect the current graphs, so don't really recommend watching them, but I do have the names listed there just in case you want to see them. For the individual progress dashboard, the graphs show you how many members are working and have in progress, so not completed, but started, each of the different projects. So in the graph on the right, in level 1, this particular club has 23 members that are actively working on their icebreaker, 22 that are working on evaluation and feedback, and 18 that are working on researching and presenting. Now, when you view the details for this particular one, it'll show you the individual member names and their status for each project. And this means that you can see not only those that are in progress, which are the ones that show up on the graph, but you can also see which ones have not been started yet and which ones have been completed. So it really gives you a good view of what your members are doing on a project by project level. You do have to go and download and view the details for each of the 5 graphs for levels 1 through 5 in order to see the complete view of all of your members. So that is the one caveat there. One of the things that you may want to do in looking at this graph is to identify members who perhaps haven't started projects when you know that they're actively working or have already given perhaps a speech. So maybe you have somebody who's given an icebreaker, but when you look at this report, you see that they haven't actually launched the icebreaker project. So this is something where you can go and say, hey, Sarah, I know you gave your icebreaker recently, but I see that you haven't actually launched the icebreaker project. Can I help you learn how to go through Pathways and launch that project so that you can take advantage of the training materials that are provided in them? That's an example of something you might want to do when looking at this project. You can also identify if there's maybe somebody who has completed a level but hasn't submitted it yet. Prompt them to do that. The next dashboard available is level completions. This one is not so much about tracking an individual member's progress, but more a helper dashboard for you as a Basecamp manager to know which members have completed a level within the past 90 days so that you can make sure that you have approved those levels and that you have submitted the awards if the member wants you to do so, so that both your club and the member can get credit for completing that level. The next dashboard is the Path Progress dashboard, and this one again goes back to individual members. Whereas the individual progress dashboard shows by level the individual projects, the Path Progress dashboard shows the counts of how many members are in each particular path with the status going across the entire path. So this might be a useful graph to look at if you're trying to, say, partner people up with members who are on the same path as them. You can quickly see how many people you have on each of the different paths. When you look at the graphs here, it shows count of how many members are on each path for the different statuses. Statuses being registered, meaning that they've chosen the path but haven't done anything else. In progress, meaning that they've at least opened and activated a project. And completed, which means they've completed the entire path. When you click the details, you get the individual member names, their path, their status, and their completion percent. So with 5 levels, every 20% complete is roughly a level. So you can see where the members are on their path. The last one I'm going to talk about here on this slide is the recently selected dashboard. Similar to the level completions, this is more of a tracker for you. It helps you to be able to see new paths that have been selected within the past 30 days. So on a routine basis, this might be something you want to check to see if your new members have chosen a path yet. Or perhaps you still have some members who predated Pathways and they haven't picked a path yet and you've been really encouraging them to do so. You can see whether they did that. Or maybe you have members who have gotten up to level 4 or 5 and maybe need to go and pick their next path. You can check in on that. And with the recent announcement of everybody who renewed in October getting a free path, you can check to see which members have selected that new path so you can make sure they take advantage of it before the deadline ends in March of 2021. Where the member progress reports described on the previous slide are useful when you're trying to look at your club as a whole and many members at once. Perhaps you have a particular member that you want to support and have questions on. When you are logged in as Basecamp manager, you can search for and select a member name, and from there you can view the paths and learning and actually open their curriculum. This will be done and make it look almost exactly like the member will see it themselves. So this screenshot here, while this is my account, I did not take this from my own login. This was provided to me by one of my club's Basecamp managers where they logged in, they searched for my name, they clicked on Paths and Learning, and they can see the curriculum that I had open at the time that this screenshot was taken. So if, as a Basecamp manager, you click to open my dynamic leadership curriculum, it would look almost exactly like the way that I see it, where I can see the individual levels and I can see the percentages and I can see which projects are in progress or completed or not started. It's exactly the same with the exception that they can't actually click on any of the projects and do them or mark them or open them up the way that I can as when I'm logged in as myself. So this is a great way if you have a particular member that you're concerned about, if you want to see where they are, you can just quickly go search for their name and find their entire curriculum, what they have done, what they haven't done, and then follow up with them as necessary to support them as they move forward. While the available member progress reports are a useful way to see a snapshot of where people are, you may find that you want to have another mechanism for tracking your members across the entire club to be able to see where they are and maybe to even share that with the club as a whole. There are several different resources, both officially from Toastmasters International as well as some unofficial ones created by other people that you may find useful. Toastmasters.org has two paper-based trackers, a Pathways achievement chart, which will let you track to the level up to 25 members, and it's available for $3.50 on the Toastmasters store. The Pathways Achievement Tracker, which costs $15, is also paper-based. It does up to 50 members, and it tracks not just to the level, but also the paths and the projects. It's a binder type tracker. Now, with the virtual environment that we find ourselves in, you may not find that those paper-based ones are very useful at the moment. So there are a few different Excel-based ones. Now, there are probably many, many other ones, but a couple that I have found or created myself includes a Pathways project tracking that is provided by District 52. It's Excel-based. It's intended for individual members and tracks individual projects. So if you have members who want to be able to see, what speech did they do for their icebreaker? When did they give it? What was the title? They want to do that for all of their other projects and know how many speeches they have to give and which projects are they doing, which electives have they chosen. All that can be done through this one. There's a different sheet for each of the 11 paths available. So it's really useful for an individual member and can be really useful for you as a VPV to be able to have them send that to you when they're submitting a level completion request so that you know what speeches they did and when and what they were called. Now, if you want to look at it more from a club-based one, there's a club quality and education tracker that I have created, which is Excel-based. It's for the entire club. It does more than just track Pathways progress. It tracks all your DCP points, including member participation and Pathways progress, but only to the level. It doesn't do it to the project. So this is something that you might find useful to be able to track your DCP points, track member participation. Maybe you want to be encouraging people to do more than just their projects. Do you want to encourage them to take on meeting roles? All that can be done through the sample club quality and education tracker that I've created. And you can access that from the link here. If you remember a few slides ago, I was talking about the member progress reports, and I mentioned that the external training progress report would be covered later. Well, this is the slide where I'm going to cover that. You probably were asking yourself, what is an external training? What does that even mean? External training is basically training request is a formal request that a member makes to you as the VPE in order to complete a project outside the home club. So this may be that they want to give a speech at another Toastmasters club, either because they're a dual club member or because they're going to just be visiting another club. Or they might want to give a speech outside of Toastmasters. Maybe they're giving a speech at their work, or maybe they're giving a speech to some other organization. This is a formal request mechanism. Do they have to follow this formal request mechanism? No. The requirement is that you as a VPE need to make sure that whatever projects they do are appropriate based on the requirements of the project. And by having this formal request, it gives you a way to track it, and it allows you to be able to see that on that external training request progress report dashboard. You may also decide that the formal request process isn't for you. Maybe you have another informal way that you want to do it. That is completely fine as long as you make sure that you know about it. And the risk is that if they don't ask for your permission ahead of time, when you go to review their level completion request, you may find that they didn't do something properly. Maybe they forgot to have a Toastmaster evaluate them when they gave their speech at outside of Toastmasters. So it's really in their best interest to make sure they, whether formally or informally, communicate with you before they do the action outside the club to make sure that it is okay and that it matches with the requirements of the project. So now how does a member go and submit a request if you want to use this formal external training request process? This is done by first going to the Paths and Learning education transcript link. Once you click there, at the top, there is a little 3 carrots button. And when you click on that, one of the options will be to add external training. So they click that, and then they have to fill out a bunch of things, including which project it's for, what level it's for, when they want to do it, what they want to do, where they want to do it. All that information is prompted for them to fill out. Once they fill all that out, they submit it to you, and you get what is called an initial external training request. There is a tutorial on how to respond to these. but the basics of it is very similar to a level completion. It'll show up in the pending requests available to you as a Basecamp manager. You will get an email notification about it, and your goal is to read what they say, make sure that it aligns with the project requirements, and you can do that by searching for the project description through Basecamp. And then if everything looks out, you can approve it. If there's any problems with it, you can reject it and send it back to them, give them comments on why you rejected it. They will then go off, assuming it's been approved, they'll go off and they'll do whatever they said they were going to do. And once they have completed that and their end date has come up, they will be able to tell you, document in that external training request what they completed and submit it to you for approval of the completion. And so that is all done within that curriculum item. So when they submit that request and you approve it, it becomes an item on their curriculum. They go in, they make the changes, and then they send it back to you. Again, when they send it back to you, it will come in as a request. There's a training tutorial on how to respond to it, but it's essentially the same thing. You make sure that whatever they did matched what they said they were going to do, and then you can approve it. Once a member has completed all the projects within the level, they will submit to you a level completion request. For members who are working in Basecamp, which hopefully is all of your members, there is a tutorial to help you with this called Responding to Level Completion Requests, Paths on Basecamp. If you happen to have any members that have a path in print, there is a separate tutorial called Validating Project and Level Completions that will explain to you how to handle those level completions. But for those who are using Basecamp, I will walk through some of the basics of how you need to respond to that level completion request. First off, you need to be logged in as Basecamp manager, as we've talked about in the previous few slides. From there, from the home page as Basecamp manager, you go to pending requests, and any of the newly submitted level completion requests should be visible there. For each one, you click on it, view it, see which level it is, which path it is, and for each project within that level for that path, you want to make sure that the member has completed the requirements for that project. This may be an easy thing to do if it's for one of the earlier levels where the projects are all the same, such as level 1, they're all the same. You probably know what the requirements are and you can tell. In level 1, a common mistake is not doing all 3 of the tasks required in that feedback and evaluation project. So maybe they only did one speech, maybe they forgot to do the speech evaluator, whatever it is. If they made a mistake, you just reject the request and tell them what they missed. If you're not sure what the requirements are for a particular project, maybe it's a level 4 project for a path that you yourself are not on, you can find out by searching for the name of the project, and you will be able to find the project description resource. So you can find that, view what it is. That description resource will tell you exactly what they're supposed to do. You can make sure that they've done it. Now, how do you make sure that they've done it? First, refer to your club records. If your club has records of agendas and who spoke when, what projects they did, you can easily go and look that up. If they didn't do it at your club, hopefully they either communicated that to you, whether informally or through that formal external training request we talked about on the previous slide, and you can check it there. If none of those things were done, if you're not sure, maybe you missed a meeting and you weren't sure what they did, you can always just check with the member directly and ask them, hey, I see there was supposed to be a speech done in this project. I don't remember you talking about this. When was this done or where was this done? If anything was not completed the way it was supposed to, you can always reject it and have them go back and finish what they missed. If the completion request is for level 3 specifically, you will also need to confirm that the member has served as Toastmaster, Topics Master, and Speech Evaluator. Now, a Speech Evaluator should be a no-brainer because that's part of the feedback and evaluation project from level 1. Toastmaster and Topics Master may or may not have been done. So you can check and make sure that they were. This could be done by looking at your club records or by viewing your member's profile to see their recorded meeting roles. And again, if you're not sure, you can always ask them. With this particular one on level 3, I would recommend that you remind your members about this requirement before they complete the level 3, especially if your club doesn't, say, automatically assign people to take on roles, and so you have members who maybe won't have signed themselves up to be a Toastmaster, and make sure that they have done that before they get to that point so they're not surprised by this, because it's not very obvious that this is a requirement. The only place that it's recorded in Basecamp is in the PDF that comes up when you go to submit your level completion request. So this only comes up at the very end when you finished all your other projects. And most members by that point are probably just automatically closing the PDF once it's open, because most of what it contains is just instructions on how to submit the level completion request, which by then they probably already know how to do because they've already done it 2 times before. So something that you really should try to make sure that your members know about before they get to the point of submitting it, so that you don't have to reject them for not having completed one of these roles. Once you've done your verification work, then you can approve or reject your request and enter comments. Especially if you reject, make sure you enter comments about why you rejected it. That, by approving the request, they will have it marked as complete within Basecamp. And the certificate of completion will be available. If your club chooses to print either on cardstock for a physical certificate, or maybe you just want to send it to them in PDF so that they have it without having to download it themselves, you could do that. And there's a tutorial explaining how to do it. Just because you've approved the level completion request in Basecamp doesn't mean that the member has gotten credit with Toastmasters International. There's another step that has to be done, but you have to first check with the member if they want their level award to be submitted first. Once the level has been approved in Basecamp, it is time to see if the member wants their award to be submitted so that they can get credit and so that your club can get credit. It's very important that you confirm with the member before you submit the award to make sure that they want the award submitted now by your club. Now, the now is because whenever the award is submitted, that is the Toastmasters year in which the member will get credit. So if the member is, say they finish up award in June, if they want it submitted now, it will count in the current Toastmasters year. If they want to have it wait for the next Toastmasters year so that it can, say, be included as part of the a Pathfinder award or a Triple Crown for next year, they can do that. Or perhaps they want to, maybe your club has already earned the 4 level 1s that are the DCP, and they want to just wait so that your club can get another level 1 for next year, and you don't need it this year. So that could be a few different reasons why they might not want it submitted right away. The by your club is only important if you have a member who's a member of more than one club. So if you have a dual club member, so maybe they're a member of an advanced club in addition to your club, or maybe you are an advanced club and they have a home club, or maybe they just have multiple clubs, a work club and a community club. Whatever the reason they have multiple clubs, they may not want your club to be the one to get the credit for the award. Again, could be because your club doesn't need it, or it could be because your club is not going to get to be distinguished because of your membership requirements. Whatever the case is, they might want to give it to the other club. So you always check, especially with your dual club members, around when they want the award submitted and by whom. If they confirm that they want it submitted now by your club, then this is done by logging into toastmasters.org and going to Club Central. From there, there's a Submit Education Awards button that you click, and you select the member's name. Once you've selected the member's name, you can select the award you want to submit. Now, note that for Pathways, there will only be options to select for paths that they have, that they own, and it will only be for the next level that has not already been submitted. So if they've never had an award for that path, it will be a level 1. If they've previously had levels 1 and 2, then it will be a level 3. So if a member has completed, say, level 4, and you approve that level 4, but they haven't completed level 3 yet, you won't be able to submit the level 4 for an award. If they are submitting an award that is level 3 or higher, before you go to submit the award, you should check with the member on whether or not they would like a letter of recognition sent to their employer. And if they say yes, then get either an email address or a physical mail address, and it's along with the name of the person that they want that letter sent to. Level 1 and 2 does not give you the option to send a letter of recognition, only levels 3, 4, and 5. Once all that has been completed, you confirm your selection and click submit, and that will submit the award for credit for the member and for the club. Once you have submitted awards, you may find that you want to check on which awards have been submitted. There's a few different ways to do this. First is when you log into Toastmasters.org and go to Club Central, there's another option called Administrative Reports. One of the administrative reports available to you is Past and Present Education Awards. This will show you all of the past and present education awards that have been submitted by your club. You can sort this by the member name, the award name, or the award date, and export it to Excel. So this can help you see which ones you've submitted and check to make sure that you've submitted the ones you should have. If you want to see which ones have been captured for Distinguished Club Program goal credits, you can do that from your Distinguished Performance Report, which is also available from Club Central. One thing to note is that during the month-end close period, which is approximately the first 2 weeks of each month, any newly submitted awards won't be visible because there's still updates that are being shown there are from the prior month. For the rest of the month, it may take up to 24 hours for awards to display. So let's give this an example. If you submitted an award on December 10th, then it's not going to show up on the Distinguished Performance Report until the month-end close happens approximately December 12th or 14th. This means that for those next few days, you won't see it. But if you submitted the report on December 16th, it should be visible by no later than December 17th. Now that we've gotten through the basics of supporting your members as they progress, we're going to touch on some topics that are for advanced member support. Dual club members are members who are not only a member of your club, but also one or more other clubs. Oftentimes, the second club of a dual club member will be an advanced club, which is a club that consists of members that have all completed multiple either levels in Pathways or awards in the old program and are really looking to advance their skills, usually through the use of round-robin evaluations. And the link on this page will take you to a list of all the advanced clubs within District 31. Other members might just be members of multiple clubs. Maybe they have a corporate club and a community club, or maybe they have multiple community clubs. There's different reasons why members might have multiple clubs. No matter what type of club they have, there's a few things that it's important for both you and the member to know about how they're having a member, being a dual club member, impacts Pathways. First, a dual club member will only be visible through Basecamp if the last time that they accessed Basecamp, they selected your club before they accessed it. So if you look at the screenshot here, I myself am a member of 3 clubs. I tend to log in for Toast of the Town, which is my home club, my corporate club. If I've logged into Toast of the Town, that means that other members who are members with me in Toastmasters at Ballardvale or Advanced Articulators of Andover cannot see me. They can't see me, they can't give or receive, give feedback to me. I can't give feedback to them. They can't see my profile. And, VPEs and the other Basecamp managers can't see what path I've selected or my progress. I won't show up in their progress reports like we were talking about before. So if you go and you're looking at those progress reports and you notice some members missing, that may be why. It may be that they are dual club members and the last time they logged in, it wasn't your club that they had selected. The next thing to note for dual club members is that if they are giving different projects in the same level at different clubs. So let's say in level 3, there's 3 projects you have to do, and they're giving 2 in your club and 1 in another. Whichever club's VPE they are intending to have approved that level, they should be communicating with that VPE, either using that external training request or through whatever informal means you have, to let them know that that's what they're doing, so that they won't be surprised when they get that approval request and are saying, you didn't do all these projects at our club. And when it is time for them to submit that request, they need to know that whatever club they select before they log in will be the club who will get the request to approve the level completion. The level completion approval can be done by any clubs, but it is going to be whatever club they've logged into. But once that has been approved, any one of their clubs can submit the award for DCP credit. It doesn't have to be the same. Now, it obviously makes things simpler and easier if you do keep it the same. It also makes it easier if the members decide to keep, having all the projects for one level be done in one particular club, but that doesn't always make the most sense for the member. For example, with me, it's easy for me to communicate with the base camp managers of Toast of the Town, which is my corporate club, because I have my work social media platform to use. So I usually will do that, but I may not give Toast of the Town all of my awards because frankly, they don't need it. There's enough other members of the club that are earning awards that they don't need my awards for their DCP, where some of my other clubs might need it. So that could be a reason why you might not do it the same. And then lastly, we talked about on the previous page how to see what awards have been submitted for your clubs. Well, if you've got a dual club member, maybe they didn't submit them all from your club, maybe they submitted them for other ones. But if you want to see all of the awards that that member has earned, you can view that from the Educational Achievements Current Year report and sort by the member. So if you want to see in the current year what they've got earned, you can go there, and they may be listed either by their member name or their ID, depending on what privacy options the member have chose. So you can always find them by their ID if you have that, which you should be able to get from within Club Central. There also is a tool created by a Toastmasters member named George Marshall. He has a series of tools available online to anybody who will, and the one in particular that is useful in this situation is the Member Awards Tool report. And this allows you to search by name for the members' awards and see them, and it goes across all of their clubs. So it's useful if you've got a dual club member and want to see what awards they've earned. And the second one can be done not just in the current year, but for past years as well. The Pathways Mentoring Program is sort of like a mini path that can be accessed by any member once they have completed level 2 on any path, and it becomes available to them as a suggested learning on their main page, as shown on the top right, after they have completed level 2 in any of the 11 paths. So it is not path dependent. It's also not required as part of any path, and it's not required for the Distinguished Toastmaster Award. So you may be wondering, well, why would I do this? And for you as Vice President of Education, the reason you should be encouraging your members to do this is because one of the encouraged parts of a club is to have a mentoring program. And the Pathways Mentor Program gives the formal training to those mentors so that they can better support the proteges, whether those are your new members or experienced members who just want support in a particular area. There's many useful tools available, and this is something that didn't exist in the old program. There wasn't formal training or a formal learning curriculum for those who wanted to perform mentoring or be mentored. Now, even though this is only available through Basecamp to those who completed level 2, If you have any members who have completed level 2, one of them can download the project resources and make them available to other members in your club who maybe are already in mentoring relationships, but maybe they haven't gotten to level 2 yet in Pathways because they were working on the old program. So this is something that you might want to have them do because there are really useful resources in there. The program itself consists of 3 projects, and because it starts after level 2, the projects are aligned with levels 3, 4, and 5. So level 3 is called Prepare to Mentor. It's a self-directed project with no speeches. It's essentially gives you information about mentoring, what it takes to be a good mentor, and then has you do some self-reflection to decide if you're ready and to make sure that you are ready to be a mentor. Level 4 project mentoring is where you actually start the mentoring. And now as a VP of E, this is where the members will come to you as the owner of your club's mentoring program and ask to be assigned to somebody for a single project mentoring assignment. So maybe this will be to mentor a new member to get through their icebreaker, or maybe it's for a particular advanced project that an experienced member wants some help with. Once they mentor that member through that project, the mentor themselves has to give a speech at the end of it. Another thing that happens at the end of that project is that the 2 participants, the mentor and the protege, both complete an assessment form at the end. And one of the questions in those assessment form is, do you want to continue this mentoring relationship? This is asked because the level 5 project, Advanced Mentoring, involves a 6-month mentoring assignment. So this could be a continuation of that mentoring assignment match that was done for the level 4 project, or it could be a brand new one. Maybe they don't want help beyond that one project, or maybe the chemistry wasn't there and it didn't work out. Whatever the reason, you might need to reassign them to somebody else for the advanced mentoring project. Or perhaps they'll decide they don't want to do Toastmasters mentoring for their advanced mentoring project. They could have a protege outside of Toastmasters, maybe somebody at work or somebody in their personal life or through some other organization. The requirement here is that they have to have a 6-month mentoring assignment. They're supposed to meet with their protege for at least 2 hours a month. There are new tools in this project to help them with monthly tracking, and at the end they have to give another speech about the assignment. Once all those projects are complete, just like with any other level awards, they can submit the mentor program completion. And if they have completed that and also completed an entire full path, any of the 11 paths, they can then submit to earn the Pathways Mentor Award. And there's a completion form as a link there that will need to be signed by the club officer. This is something that, again, no, it's not required for the DTM award. It's not part of any official path. Highly encourage you to encourage your members to take advantage of this once they have reached the level 2. Make it part of your club mentoring program and really encourage people to take advantage of this because this will help to build the quality of your club overall. Second paths are something that not every member gets to, but now, especially with the new free second path that Toastways International is offering to renewing members for the October due cycle, it's something that more members are going to be asking about. So the first thing is that members can start a second path at any time. And of course, with this new free path and the deadline to select the new path before the end of March, I would certainly encourage all members to take advantage of that before it expires. But in typical normal times where you don't have this deadline in place, my recommendation would be for that members choose their second path after they've completed level 3 and their first path. And the reason for that is that level 4 and 5 projects are typically longer in duration. So by starting their second path then, they're able to keep giving routine prepared speeches by starting in level 1 in their second path. Now, of course, with this free path, members who aren't yet to level 3, but are moving along in levels 1 or 2, or maybe they're in level 3, they can just hold on to that second path until they're ready to go. Or maybe they'll have a speech that they really want to give that fits in that second path, and that's fine too. In terms of how to select that second path, it's exactly the same as the first one with just 2 minor differences. So first one is that No longer will they have that automatic recommendation of presentation mastery because that's only done for new members. And unless they have this free path, which obviously will be free, the member must pay $20 for a path. So that's what it was up until this special incentive had been given, and what it will go back to once this is over as well. The last thing to talk about with advanced members is the pinnacle of Toastmasters Awards, which is the Distinguished Toastmaster Award, and what the requirements are for that award so that you can support members who may be looking for that. You could even talk to your members about this early on, just as setting it as their goal and mapping out a plan for it. In order to earn a Distinguished Toastmaster Award within the Pathways program, they have to complete 2 learning paths. So the good news now is it doesn't necessarily cost them any more money because of the special free path that is being granted this cycle. The other requirements that they have to complete in order to get a DTM is they have to serve as a club officer for 12 months, and while they're a club officer, they have to participate in the preparation of a club success plan and in a district-sponsored club officer training program, which is what we in District 31 call a TLI, or Toastmasters Leadership Institute. Another requirement is to serve a complete 1-year term as a district officer. So this is most often done being an area director, but it also works for division director or one of the other higher level trio positions within the district. Another requirement is to serve successfully as either a club mentor or a club coach. So a club mentor is somebody who helps a newly chartered club to figure out how to run meetings and basically be a club for the first 6 to 12 months of their existence. A club coach is someone who helps a club that has been around for a while but is struggling and has 12 or fewer members, and they have to coach them to get back to being a distinguished club. Another requirement is to either serve successfully as a club sponsor or conduct a speechcraft or youth leadership program. A club sponsor helps a prospective club to get to the point of chartering. So they sort of precede the club mentor. The club Speechcraft and Youth Leadership Program are both 6 to 8 week programs that a Toastmaster can give to non-Toastmasters. Speechcraft is aimed towards adults and helping them to learn the basics of giving public speeches. And the Youth Leadership Program, as the name suggests, is geared towards youth, generally middle school and high school students, and takes them through speech giving as well as some leadership steps. The last and the pinnacle of the Distinguished Toastmaster Award is the Distinguished Toastmasters Project. It becomes available to you after you've completed level 3 of your second path and having completed the full first path by sending an email to educationprogram@toastmasters.org. It is a project of your own design that benefits an organization and is similar to the High Performance Leadership Project that is part of level 5. Once you have completed all 6 of these requirements, the next step is to submit the award, which we'll be talking about on the next slide. Submitting the DTM award is done through a DTM application. It is available through the Toastmasters website. I have the specific link here, and there's an image of part of the form. So it is a fillable PDF. Once the member completes it, they submit it to you or another club officer who verifies that the requirements were completed as stated. So that is your requirement as the VPE, or you can delegate it to one of your other officers to confirm that everything was done as they said it was. Many of the requirements Toastmasters International will be able to confirm themselves through their records of when you were a different types of officers and so on. That award is then submitted through Club Central or via email to educationprogram@toastmasters.org. So when it's done through Club Central, you take that PDF and you translate it into an online form to submit. Thank you for listening to my Pathways training for Vice Presidents of Education. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me via email, carlycoxtm@gmail.com. I would be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you and have a wonderful day.